Good morning. I love you. Yeah. Look at those beautiful, bright, smiling faces. It's an amazing day. Going to be nice and hot. I'm so excited. Giving me creative opportunities on how to be cool in my life. Oh, yeah. So today we are exploring the topic of living in possibility. This is our monthly theme, and we've been really looking at different ways that we can live in possibility. And Vance had talked about one thing. One thing is embracing change, and we had talked about that last month, all about embracing change. Well, you can't live in possibility unless you're willing to embrace change, because living in possibility means that you're living in something that's different from what's happening right now, that's even more possible, more extraordinary, more wonderful than you could have ever imagined. And I'd like to tell you that it's absolutely possible for you to have a life that is better than you can imagine. And it's not only possible, but it's highly probable. It's very likely, especially if you start stepping into the change and you take a leap into those possibilities that seem uncomfortable, that seem awkward, that seem different. And also, if you start practicing the principles that we teach here, I can guarantee you something in your life is going to change. And sometimes it doesn't always feel good because you're releasing those things that no longer serve you. There's a saying, and I don't know where the saying comes from. If it's from the Bible, somebody famous, but it's, known hells are usually more comfortable than unknown heavens. Yeah. Because to go back to that abusive relationship or go back to that habit that is unhealthy for you, to go back to that space or being of negativity is more comfortable because you know it. But to step into that next level, that experience of wellness, of wholeness, of beingness, of living an extraordinary life is sometimes uncomfortable. And it's unknown. Like, what if it doesn't happen? But what if it does? What if? Our weekly theme is, how do you know something is impossible if you've never tried it? How do you know it's impossible if you've never tried it? You don't. As a matter of fact, what if you tried it 10 years ago and you think it's impossible because it didn't work 10 years ago? But are you the same person that you were 10 years ago? Oh, I'm not. And I'm grateful I'm not. I mean, woo! I'm sure Gina is too. So we've been together for at least 10 years. So it makes me think about how much have I learned in the last year? How much have I learned in the last 5 years? How much have I learned in the last 10 years? And do you think maybe the circumstances and reality may have shifted and changed where something where you thought was not possible may be possible now? We're studying this book of the month called Soul Currency, which I left in my office. My apologies. Otherwise, I would display it for you. It's by Ernest Chu. And the first week we were discovering how to make the space for you to utilize your spiritual capital. And the first thing you need to do is let go. Let go of attachment, of meaning, of matter. Let go. Just let it all go. The second thing you need to start doing is receiving. A lot of us can give, but we're not so good at receiving. And it kind of takes two sides of circulation, breathing in and breathing out. And sometimes people can breathe out, but they don't want to breathe in. Doesn't work very well, huh? And yeah, I catch myself doing it. Oh, can I buy you lunch? No, it's okay. Oh, can I hold the door open for you? No, it's okay. Oh, would you like me to carry this thing? No, it's okay. What am I doing? I'm not receiving the circulation. It doesn't necessarily have to be in money. It can be in all kinds of energetic ways, right? The third thing we talked about on the first week was focusing on gratitude for your abundance. And not just focusing on gratitude for your abundance, we're talking about your future abundance. Focusing on gratitude for your future abundance. So cultivating a sense of future gratitude. saying thank you now for the things that are manifesting in your future. Last week, we talked about the 4 types of spiritual assets. The first type is intuition and guidance. Intuition is within, guidance is coming from what we believe is external, but it's the same thing. Intuition and guidance. It's just God speaking internally versus God speaking externally, but it's all part of the same thing. And looking for leads, looking for signs, looking for coincidences, these are ways that the universe is speaking to you. And it's happening all the time, every day. But we miss them. We miss our signs. The second type of spiritual asset is creativity. And we looking at, are you feeling creatively blocked right now? Or are you feeling like you're creatively in the flow? If you're feeling blocked, then looking for different things that you can do, different techniques that you can do to start your creative juices flowing. One thing that we just talked about is doing something differently. Just doing something differently. Try eating with your non-dominant hand. Try going to work in a different way.
Crossing your arms.
Try crossing your arms in a different way. And the third thing from last week was your higher personality traits. That's another one of your spiritual assets. That's your character traits. We have all different types of character traits. And so recognizing what those are. The fourth type of spiritual asset is your cultivated skills and knowledge. So that's your education, or it might be things that your parents taught you, society taught you, different things that you've learned, you've cultivated along this path that we call life. So that brings us present to today. So now you are in the perfect position to set in motion a powerful force that can rearrange the universe. Does that sound good or what? Yes. So I have a question for you though. What is valuable? What do you value? What do you value?
Family.
Family, friends, God, kindness, goddess. What do you think our society values? Money, success, power, right? Monetarily defined. So looking at what society values, it's good to see that value is changeable to society. So we value real estate, commodities, oil, wheat, precious metals, silver, gold, gemstones, right? All of those things are things that society values. And a lot of people, maybe people in this room, are working for the money because we value money. And the reason why we value money is because society has made an agreement that this piece of paper is important. Society has made an agreement. And we bought into that agreement. But it can completely change. Now just imagine if you were catapulted to another planet. You land on this other planet, and all over the planet is gold. Everywhere. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm rich, I have gold. So you start sticking the gold in your pockets, you're walking around, it's heavy. You're taking it over and you find this store and you're like, wow, I'm kind of hungry, I want to buy some food. I have some gold I can put down there. And they look at you and they're like, you're crazy. Gold is everywhere. It doesn't have any value here. It's like how we might see sand, right? And in that other planet, it's not valued. Well, then what do you do? What do you have? Other things that we've had, that we've seen where value has changed. In post-World War II Germany, paper money became so inflated that it was worthless. In ancient Middle Eastern cultures, they valued silver more than gold, whereas we value gold more than silver. Or for instance, in 1975, they closed a copper mine in Bisbee, Arizona. And after the mine closed, the housing prices in that city went down 97%. Did the house change? No. Well, what changed? Our perception of what was valuable. So I'm here to tell you that there's something that is unchangeable in value. It is always worth something. And it is your spiritual capital. Your spiritual capital. It's the only eternal form of capital that we have. For unlike money and tangible assets, the source energy of love cannot be lost. So what you have within you, your own spiritual capital, cannot be lost. You are valuable. And I know that a lot of people often forget that. Thinking or feeling words of, I'm not enough, I'm worthless, what do I have to offer the world? Well, the thing is, you have a lot to offer the world, and each and every person here, every person alive has something of value that the world needs. And the world's not going to get that unless you start tapping into it and sharing it with the world. Ernest Chu said, investment of spiritual assets is set into the motion by the power of intentionality, which is then directed by positive focus. So again, you have your spiritual assets. Well, how can you use these spiritual assets? You're going to put them in motion by the power of your intentionality and direct it by your focus. He has a little equation. I put it on the piece of paper that we had in your bulletin. Hopefully you had one in your bulletin. SC equals F plus I plus SA multiplied by L. Which means spiritual capital equals focus plus intention plus spiritual assets multiplied exponentially by love. Multiplied exponentially by love. So I want you to just imagine that you could plug yourself into a socket that would tap the electric current of the universe. It is source energy. Just imagine. Now, because source energy is indivisible and boundless, it would give you access to such an unlimited supply of energy that only you could limit or stop its flow. Well, in fact, you are plugged in. And you are responsible for the flow that you experience. We had a camping trip this last couple of days for our Center for Spiritual Living Peninsula. And we had a movie night. Yes, we actually had a movie night camping. Thank John Sharmer and for the Kennedys for having a sheet to put up on the RV, and we projected onto that. It was great. But we watched What the Bleep Do You Know? And that's a really good movie. I encourage it to everybody. But what I really love about the movie is it talks a lot about quantum physics and spirituality and God and the value of intentionality. And in the field of quantum physics, they suggest that nothing happens by chance or by accident. And as a matter of fact, everything in existence is interconnected. These are what our scientists are discovering at the most deepest and more profound level of beingness, is that everything is interconnected. Now, this is what the ancient mystics of all of our religions on this planet have been teaching for millennia. But the scientists are just now able to prove it. So all these things that we've been saying about God, that God is infinite, it's everywhere, there's a power that is connected to us, and it is indivisible, you cannot divide it. It is here, ever present within each and every one of us. That is exactly what the quantum physicists are saying as well. That there is something that can shift and change us, that we are connected to. And it is a power and a force that is everywhere present at all times. And we have access to it. We are plugged in, tuned in, tapped into it. But oftentimes, we forget. We forget, or we didn't know in the first place. Well, I'm telling you now you know. You have a power inside of you that you are tapped in, tuned in, and a part of that has the infinite flow of the universe. And its nature is love. we can affect reality in a specific way. And this is intensified, magnified by the clarity of our thoughts and the intensity of our feelings. In that movie, there's an example of a scientist, Dr. Masaru Emoto. And I've talked about him before. It's because he's this amazing scientist who decided that he was going to put words on like water bottles. And then he would allow the words to sit on the bottle for 24 hours. And then he would take the water and he would freeze it and then look at the water crystals to see if the intentionality of the word impacted what the water crystals looked like. And lo and behold, whenever he wrote love and thank you, he found beautiful, gorgeous, symmetrical crystals that are just beyond compare. And when he pasted things on the outside of the water bottles like hate or I want to kill you or Hitler, that the crystals were unformed. They were all disjointed and mottled. The same water. He had the same water that he did this to. So he had the water to begin with and he had different words. And he also documented the power of intentionality by having groups use prayer to clear polluted lakes and streams. So I wonder if that kind of power happens just by pasting a word on some water. Imagine the actual physical power we have in our words that we're speaking. So I wonder, what are you doing with your words? And how are you utilizing your words to help others? Dr. Robert John, Dean Emeritus and the former professor of aerospace engineering at Princeton University School of Engineering and Applied Scientist, he established that patterns of random numbers could be affected by the intentions or the beliefs of experimenters. So they had this random number generator and just spit out random numbers. And then they'd have a group of people. They'd have a group of people that were doing nothing, right? And then you'd have a group of people with another random number generator who had an intentionality, like we're going to make sure that we think fours, and we're going to make an idea that there's going to be more fours than any other number that gets generated. And lo and behold, the powerful group had this intention, and it affected the random number generator. This was happening at our camping trip. We were playing Yahtzee, and I really needed to get a 3 to get a straight on my Yahtzee. And so I said, okay, everybody, let's all think 3. Let's all think 3. And we were all thinking 3, 3, 3. And I rolled the dice, and it rolled a 3. It was amazing. It happened several times. Evidence, proof. But can you imagine what the power of our group intentionality could do to this world? Can you imagine? What collective intention would you like to set with the community? What would you like to set with the world? I have an intention that I want to see us living in a world that works for everyone. I want us to see that we're collaborating and co-creating, that we're recognizing the diversity that's on this planet and celebrating the diversity for what we have, the beauty and the love and the interconnectedness. Seeing both our differences and the love that is the same that connects us all, and honoring all of that. I want to be a space of love wherever I go. You see, part of the process of developing your awareness of soul currency is to redefine your intentions in terms of connection and unity rather than separation. Recognizing that your good is the good of the world. So I have an assignment for this week. I'd like you to reflect upon everyone you come in contact with for the course of the day. Were you aware of sending them loving or hostile thoughts? Did you express gratitude for the people that you came in contact with? Can you imagine if you set that intention every day to send gratitude to every person you came in contact with, no matter how they treated you? I went on a hike, and we were hiking along in Big Basin, and there was a set of girls in front of us, and they were going really slow. And I was really impatient. I was like, God, can't they speed it up? And there was one girl, and she had like this, her pant leg rolled all the way up to here, and the other one down. And I was so judgy. I was like, what is that style? Who does that? That's ridiculous. So this is what's going on in my head, right? And we're hiking. We passed them up because, they were way too slow. And then later on, after we'd gone to the waterfall and I'd eaten my food and stuff, they finally made it to the waterfall. And I noticed the girl who had her thing up here, she had a pad there. And her friends asked how she was feeling, because apparently she had tripped on the hike and she had scraped her knee. And so she had rolled her pants up so she could have some padding on her knee. And I was like, wow, look at me. Look at what I was sending out to this group of young ladies, this judgmental, egotistical, I'm so great, idea, when they were just hiking and one of them was injured, and they were taking their time to make sure that they could have her go the entire way, and they were taking care of her. And I was like, that's how I want to be. But that's not how I was. But it awakened me to how can I be in the future? How can I be with each and every person that I come in contact with? So I'm going to tie this up by just telling you the 3 levels of spiritual investment. So there's 3 types of consciousness. One is self-cherishing consciousness. And that's where you intend, putting your intention out there, you intend to find the front row parking space, right? So you're doing, and I do that all the time. And I get it too, yeah. It works. But that's the first level of consciousness. That's taking care of the self. And there's nothing wrong or bad about that. It's just one level of operating in the world, which we all operate on these 3 levels, but it's being attentive to how we operate and how we can expand ourselves into having the higher levels of consciousness in our life. So when your intentions are self-cherishing, you're usually going from effort, determination, and will, instead of creativity, flow, and expansiveness. The second type of consciousness is connection consciousness. And this is recognizing that what you're doing is connected to a larger group. So for instance, if what you do in the community, by serving in this community, you're serving for the larger community. You're serving because we have a community here, a spiritual community. Or perhaps you're participating in the backpack drive because you want to serve a larger community. So this is you stepping in, giving your gifts for this community because you want to serve a greater cause. The third type of consciousness is seva consciousness, and that means selfless service. And this is where you imbue every single action of your day with love, recognizing that you are serving all of life, and your service towards others will always serve towards the larger aspect of yourself. So this is where you realize there's no individual one, only the collective, only the big, large picture of all that is. So everything you do is an act of service towards the all that is. And that's the larger consciousness. So I'm going to invite you to notice your daily actions this week. Notice if you are feeling solitary or connected. And remember that the investment of your spiritual assets are set into motion by the power of your intentionality, directed by positive focus. So I want to invite you to consider what your intention is for yourself, and if that intention is also for the greater good of the community, and if that intention is also for the greater good of the planet and life itself, then that's the intention to have. So I invite you to set some intentions this week and to start focusing on them, and realize that when you start activating that, recognizing the power of love is flowing in and through each and every one of us, you cannot fail. You will succeed. because love is the power of the universe. So let's stand in love and be that person. And so it is.